morning. Are you excited to be here? It is so cool to have live people in front of me. Welcome to everyone. And it is my prayer that as we gather together, we will be filled with Spirit and be empowered to move forward as servants of Jesus. And Chris has some announcements.
Good morning. It's so very good to see you. It's been too long. I put this off so that it's not rattling quite as much. Friends, I have bad news and I have good news today. The bad news is that according to the Department of Health and recommendations from the National Church, we are not allowed to sing at the moment. The good news, however, is that we do have musical leadership with us each week. Members of the choir are going to lead the singing, and Valerie and I will also lead the singing. What we have been told and what we will be following is the notion that we are far enough away from you that we can sing with or without a mask. So please feel comfortable knowing that. I would strongly encourage you, please, to hum along. Feel that connection. Follow the words on the screen and hum along with the music. Because we are indeed a music-making congregation, and that is one way that we can all stay connected. I also thank John for being part of the Ministry of Music this morning. It's so good to see you.
So I do it. Whoops, they're turning back on. I also will take this off. I have a couple of announcements. As you hope everybody finds their pew comfortable, even if it's not exactly where you're used to sitting. We took the cushions away because we thought we weren't allowed to use the cushions, but some of you noticed Grant was passing cushions out. We have been told that it's fine and dandy to use the cushions, that any virus only lasts for about a half an hour on the fabric, so we're good to go. Your masks, if you are comfortable, because you have been distanced according to regulations, which is why you were all given assigned spots, you may take your mask off. If you are going to get up and move around, please put it back on. If you're going to go to the washroom, please put it back on. If you do need to go to the bathroom, we have a favor to ask of you. There are Lysol wipes in both washrooms. If, as you are finished and ready to leave, if you could take a Lysol wipe, just wipe down the toilet seat, the handles that you touched on the faucets and on the paper towel rack, that will make our job much easier. Also, if I could have a couple of volunteers who would be willing to stay after the service this morning and just help us wipe down the pews that have been occupied and ready for the next group that comes into the church, that would be most helpful. And for those of you who are going to volunteer to stay, there are 2 cleaning stations, one here and one at the back. There are rags and disinfectant. Just spray some disinfectant on the rags and wipe down the seat and the back of the pews, and that would be wonderful. Whoever thought worship could be so complicated, eh? Our other regular activities are beginning again. Our mental health peer support group began last Thursday, and they will be meeting every Thursday from now on at 6:30, either downstairs in the paint room or upstairs in the youth room. Sunday school is happening this morning as we are meeting here. They, for the duration of this part of our reality, our Sunday school will be worshiping simultaneously. So they are not going to come into church. That cuts down on the contact spaces that we have to clean up afterwards. And they will be over in their sanitized space, and parents will drop off and pick up the children over there. Youth group will begin next Sunday night at 6:30 here in the church hall. I think choir practice has resumed on Thursday evenings as well. And I think that's all the announcements. I have us so far? Is there anything anybody else can think of? No? Okay. All right. So we figured, Chris and I, that this must be pretty strange for you folks after 6 months. You actually had to get dressed to come to church. My guess is most of you have been worshiping in your jammies. Some of you I know for sure have been worshiping in your jammies because you sent me pictures and you've sent me notes saying that that's what you were doing. Chris and I never had that opportunity. We did our worship services from here while you were home, and we remained on proper decorum. This morning, we figured, let us worship God together. Let us unite our hearts in prayer. We come into this space from many different places, and we give thanks that we are free to worship together. We pray that Spirit will touch our beings and empower us to be reflections of divine light wherever we are. And let us hear these words from our sacred story. And he said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, with your whole soul, with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment, and the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself."
You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others.
That there may be no divisions in the body, but that the members may have the same care for one another. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Now you are the body of Christ, and individually members of it.
Above all, keep loving one another earnestly. Show hospitality to one another without grumbling. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Whoever speaks, as one who speaks oracles of God. Whoever serves, as one who serves by the strength that God supplies.
And Jesus said, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Those who live in me and I in them will bear abundant fruit. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. Yes, spoiler alert. One of the things that, I don't know about you, but that has been highlighted for me through this bizarre time is the importance of community. I have craved seeing you and being with you, and I believe all of us at different points in this journey have really missed that contact that we have with one another. The other piece in that is that it's really hard to figure out how we do all of those things that the gospel calls us to do when we're told to stay at home, right? Things like putting our lamp on the lampstand and letting it shine for all the world to see. How do we reach out and respond to those situations in our community and in our world that need tender, loving care? Those kinds of questions are ones that have been running through the minds of many in many different faith communities across the land. And so I thought that today, that it should be about celebrating, about lifting up who we are as the body of Christ. That perhaps we need to be reminded of who we are as members of First United Church and the impact that our mission and ministry has had in the past and continues to have now, even in the midst of these uncertain times. And so to do that, I'm not going to preach today. Others are going to do that for me. And the first is a reflection by a member of our faith community, a young adult, who is no longer living here in this community, but grew up in First United Church and in the town of Truro, Elliot Williams. And Elliot's story is known to some of you, and some of you maybe not. But earlier on through the pandemic, he was asked by another group to do a presentation on why it is important for a church to be affirming, to be accessible, to be welcoming. And in that, he reflected on his journey with First United Church and the support that he received in his journey and what that has meant for him, and also talks about why, in fact, it is important that we need to be so. So I'm going to invite us to have a listen as Elliot shares with us.
Hi there. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Elliot Williams. I am 21 years old. I live in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and I am a transgender person. My personal pronouns are he and him, and I am a proud Confirmed member of the United Church. When Pix asked me to talk about why being affirming is important, I was really, really happy. I can't tell you how many times that I've been having a conversation with somebody about a point of view, and I say, hey, I'm a person of faith. I'm a person who practices Christianity. I am religious. And they go, yeah, but you're, and I go, part of the LGBT community? Yeah, I am. And I always educate them on how there are actually safe spaces for people like me within the church community. Everybody kind of has this preset stigma in their head, thinking that as soon as somebody comes out of the closet, they're not going to be welcome in the church anymore, and people are going to think they're some kind of a monster. And I'm very, very happy to say that I've opened people's eyes about why that statement's wrong. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. When I was 15 years old, I realized that I was transgender. It wasn't an overnight thing, but it's something that needed to happen. I went through a lot of self-loathing and self-hatred, and I realized that the role of female that I was put into, I didn't fit in. After long nights of reading and self-discovery, I stumbled upon the word transgender, and it fit me like a glove. So, after I got enough confidence and I cut off all my hair, I started hacking my chest and I decided upon a new name. At this time in my life, I was a very active member of the youth group at my church. We would go and we would meet every Sunday night around 6:30 at the basement of the church, and we would just hang out. We were really tight. It was really a good group of people. So one particular night I show up and I'm very upset. I had a conversation with my parents previous to this moment about this newfound knowledge about myself, and they weren't as happy about it as I wish they would be. So I was very torn, I was very upset. And I remember sitting there and I remember my minister looking at me, and she knew something was wrong. She knows me really well. But she didn't push and she didn't pry. She didn't try to make me open up if I didn't want to. But she knew that something needed to be said. So we went around the circle and she asked us one good thing and one bad thing that happened this week. And I listened intently as everybody went around, and I got more and more nervous as the next person spoke. And then it came to my turn. And instead of saying one good thing, one bad thing, I just said, I'm trans and I have a new name. And the reaction was amazing. There was no, what is wrong with you? There was no, this is wrong. It was, okay, what's your name? How can we accept you and make you feel wonderful? It was the first moment that I'd actually felt accepted by a group of people, and I felt like I had a safe space to land. That following year was the first Pride Parade in my little conservative town in Nova Scotia. I was beyond excited, and the people who were marching beside me were from the same youth group. Our minister in tow, all dressed up in wonderful rainbows and bright colors, and they were marching some for their own identity, but some for me. And that was an amazing feeling, not only knowing that I was accepted into a community like this, but I was also told that it's something to be proud of. If it wasn't for that night at youth group, if it wasn't for that reaction that I had initially, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have been strong enough to stand in front of the congregation and introduce myself as who I am and talk about diversity and why it's beautiful. I wouldn't be the person that would stand at the end of the church and explain, this is me, and this is my partner, and I can dress the way that I want to, and that's not scary, and people can go, yeah, that's okay. I wouldn't be the person that wrote the sermon for my graduation Sunday that left not a single dry eye in the place about transitional periods and change, loving yourself and growing and learning where safe spaces are to land. I wouldn't have been the person that stood in front of hundreds of people in Montreal, spoke from the heart about my personal experience, and held a conga line of hugs afterwards, because there were hundreds of people who were going through the same thing I was, but they just felt like they were completely alone. Although there were joyous moments, and there was happiness, and there was things to be proud of, I don't think I would be as strong as I am without them. They were hard moments. There were moments where I would trip and fall. There are moments of self-hatred and trying to find acceptance, but they held my hand through it too. It was a safe space for me to land. Later on in my church journey, I ended up dating the love of my life, who someday will be my wife. She happens to also be transgender. And I remember her being nervous and trying to find a safe space as well, trying to find somewhere that will welcome her as her and not the person she was once, because that's not who she is anymore. And I said, hey, why don't I bring you to church? That didn't actually end as well as I was saying. There was a lot of convincing, because again, she was one of those people that had the preset stigma in their head that was saying, no, I'm not going to be welcome there. That's not a safe place for me. But I did. I took her, she agreed to go, and she was welcomed with open arms, just as I was. And it moved her to tears, because again, it was the first place where she was welcome, where she was viewed as who she was. She knew she was safe. So you ask me why it's important from a trans perspective to be affirming. I can tell you, kids need a safe space to land. Kids need somewhere to feel warm and to feel welcome and to feel like being who they are isn't a bad thing. Kids need to realize that the entire world isn't against them. Kids need a place to blossom and flourish just like I did, just like she did, just like many of us did. And just because we're different doesn't mean diversity isn't beautiful. Just because we are a little bit different in the way we look and the way we act does not mean we are not created in God's image. God's image comes in different shapes and sizes. It's some big, some small, some gay, some straight, some trans, some not. We're all beautiful. We're all children of God. We all deserve to know that we are loved and that we are welcome. So no other kid's fault. That's why being affirming is important.
some magic that you helped create during this COVID-19.
So today the story that I'll be sharing is a little bit different, but it's about community and coming together. So this story is very dear to my heart. So please join in with me as I share a little bit about the beauty that can come from one another coming together. I've always been a firm believer in that it takes a village to raise a child. And over the years, I've seen witness to incredible impacts that can come from a community coming together. Over the past few years, I've spent a lot of time working in community with some of the most vulnerable populations. I've spent time with seeing huge success stories from people coming together in a loving support. Creating an atmosphere for people without fear of judgment has always been a core value of mine. Through working with the homeless population over the past few years, I've lived closely with some of people's most hardest struggles and the things that folks have faced in their lives. It's never easy going through something alone, and being able to provide a calming presence for somebody and encouragement is something that I've been grateful to be a part of. I've recently had the opportunity to move into a new role as a position of a housing support worker, and I've been given the chance to work in community with over 100 families who now have a place to call home. Coming from shelter is never an easy transition, and I've had some really unique moments to make this transition as smooth as possible. A move is stressful, to say the least, and I've had such appreciation of being able to make that stress a little bit less so that people have a place to call home. My goal once someone is settled into their home is to continue to support in whatever way that support might look like. I offer support to people from all walks of lives, so the things that I can do in the run of the day extend so many variations. I work for a nonprofit that does rely on a lot of donations to maintain the flow of the shelter as well as the community support programs that we're involved in. Over the past several months, COVID has impacted many people greatly. The social isolation and the things involved, we saw a decline in many areas. During this time, we could no longer accept donations, and each shelter and housing support program fell apart a little bit. We did have the fortunate opportunity to stockpile previously, and we had a lot of supplies to last us. But as the summer months went on, we saw our supplies minimize. School was approaching, and I had families and children who didn't have school supplies because we didn't get to do our regular book bag programs that had happened years previously. The moment that we were given the okay to begin receiving donations again, I started to ponder and think, how could I make an impact? Throughout my life, church has been an incredible influence and an ally in my world. A place of acceptance where I've been witness to the beauty that can come from people coming together. When I reached out to the church to see what type of support we could offer, I was brought to tears and the donations started to come in. I'm sorry. So I would like to take some time to share with you guys some of the incredible impacts that came from the donations that we were receiving. We received clothing donations, hygiene products, towels, face cloths, beddings, furniture, and monetary donations. All of this I was able to put into action immediately. Through purchasing and through donations, we were able to provide shampoo, conditioner, soap, body wash, lotion, lip chap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorant, and so much more for the men and women's shelters. Things things that aren't funded provincially or federally, things that we rely solely on donations for. Together, we were able to change the locks on a home that were broken into, replace keys, purchase furniture. We were able to fund a youth to get back and forth to school because the only means that they had was through public transit. We were able to purchase a number of bus tickets that we could give out in the community for those who needed it most. We were able to give an 11-year-old child a gift card to Clay Cafe for her birthday, a place she had always dreamed of going, but could never afford. We were able to purchase meal supplements for an elderly lady who was able to finally get all of her teeth removed. We were able to find proper waste management and supplies to do a community cleanup. With the donations and the ability to purchase some added supplies, we were able to provide 23 children all of the supplies necessary for them to feel good about going back to school and starting off the year right. With all this and so much more, each of the donations that we received has created an incredible wave of impact. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. And so I wanted to share a little bit of this with you guys today, because without your love and support, none of this would have been possible. Thank you.
This is who you are. The body of Jesus in this time and in this place. So whether we are physically in this building, these buildings, or whether we are at home, we are still a light that is on a lampstand, shining proudly and allowing others to see the light. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. We gather in praise and thanksgiving, filled with gratitude for family, friends, and community. Together, we create a place where each person is able to live to their full potential, find a place of safety, and the ability to grow and learn. Here we are held in unconditional love, and we are free. We give thanks this day for our brother Jesus, whose arms were open to receive all into his circle of love. The example he set for us demonstrated justice, equality, inclusion, compassion, and it is our prayer that we would reflect this in our journey. Today, in this place, we hold in our hearts and place into divine love all of those who feel caged and isolated, those who feel rejected by family and community, those who struggle with meeting daily needs of food and shelter, those who wrestle with addiction, those who live with mental health issues, those who are walking through the valley of the shadow of death, those dealing with relationship breakdowns, and so much more. For all of these and the many other things that remain silent on our hearts, we pray for freedom, for healing, for hope, for comfort, peace, acceptance, welcome, love, each according to our need. We bring all of our prayers together in one voice, in the words that Jesus gave his friends so many years ago. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Into the world. May we be blessed with anger. Anger at injustice. And may we become agents for justice, for healing, and for hope. May we be blessed with discomfort. Discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, broken relationships, and let us live deep within our beings. As we leave, may we be blessed with tears, tears shed for all in our world who are hurting. And may we become agents of healing. And as we go, let us reach out our hands in service. And may we be blessed with foolishness, enough foolishness to go and do what others say cannot be done. reminder that because we're supposed to leave by a different way, a whole lot of symbolism in there, isn't there? We are going to go home by a different road. The exit for this morning's worship is out through these doors.